Greetings,
Hello.
aliens.
Hello from outer space because I just put an outer space background on Zoom.
It's looking great.
It
Very
is.
existential.
Yeah, I don't know that anyone has watched our podcast, but I am floating in space.
Zero gravity. Don't sing. Okay. Well, here we are again.
Yep.
Hello to our listener.
Hello.
Um, Shout out to both of you.
We're really glad you're here. It's fun
Yeah.
having this convo.
Yes. Okay, so our topic of the day is friendship and
But
how
not just
friend
any friendship. What kind of
yes.
friendship?
Our magical friendship. Okay. The real
No,
topic
that's not
is
the topic.
how friendship changes as a concept and as a practice when you're in religious communities versus when you're outside of them.
Yes.
So,
Ooh, this is a good topic.
yeah.
And timely.
Yes. Why?
Because you keep leaving me messages about how you're making friends for the first time
Right.
that are not associated with the church, which I'm so excited for you about.
Yes, I just went to a Galentine's brunch last month and it ended up fine. All these worst case scenarios were in my mind because of like ladies' brunches, which I always hated, or even like religious baby showers sucked.
Hmm.
I always hated those.
Yeah.
There's like a drawn out church service disguised by games.
Disguised by.
They were. They're like, oh, we're gonna play bingo, but it's gonna involve Bible verses about child.
Really?
Yeah, it was like weird. It was weird games, and I was not there for that. We're like, we're gonna find who has these objects in their purse. Okay. Oh, surprise! The safety pin has some sort of spiritual meaning to it.
It all had to be tied to the religion.
Yes, it
Okay.
was. Same with Mexican weddings, low key. Mexicans know how to party, but like in the church, I feel like some of that party culture would get muted a little bit.
That would make sense.
Yeah, so weddings would go on and on just because like there's all this symbolism with like the discipleship and the accountability and all kinds of stuff. But my wedding, we chose not to include like any of those objects in symbolism and stuff like that. So my ceremony is actually record breakingly short. So
Oh,
yeah,
you broke the standard.
I did. Yeah. But sometimes they give the microphone to numerous people and it can get long. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Would you say that you had authentic friendships in religion, or did they feel, now that you're bashing the, oh, not bashing, but now that we're breaking apart, like what didn't work with religion and friendships, like how was that for you?
Gosh. My first thought regarding friendship when you're like in a church versus outside of church is that when you're in, there's this like mutual understanding of acceptance and kind of like automatic connection.
Yep.
So sometimes that puts pressure on the friendship because it has to be like spiritualized or intellectualized, or there's this kind of thing of like, hey, gotta integrate the new person and like invite
Yeah.
them out and like all this stuff. That kind of goes with love bombing, which we've talked about before, but it's just weird nowadays to be in circles where that it's not that much of a given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the secular world, people don't just talk about Bible verses. They're
Yeah.
not interested, it turns out, in theology.
And they walk really fast away from you if you try to talk to them about it.
Yeah, but what do they talk about instead? And how do you, this is part of this dialogue. How do you figure out what it is that people are interested in talking about?
Yeah. It's really hard. So,
Okay, well, we'll dive into it.
okay. Well, you go ahead. What are
Okay.
your friendships like nowadays?
Wait, I want to talk about something different with regarding the
So
friendship.
it's not going well.
No, it's going great.
Yeah, I'm like, what are your friendships like nowadays? And you're like, no
As
material
a,
there. Let's
as
talk
a
about
really
something.
close friend. Never mind. No, friendships are better than ever.
Oh, okay.
Sincerely, they're
Cool.
great. Um, and I think that from my life experience, that the time of life when I became really immersed in church culture was in the seventh grade, right when I had just moved cities. In the fifth grade, I moved cities, but well, okay, so sixth grade, what I would say it started. I had just moved cities, and so Anne started middle school, okay? Enter
Hmm.
identity crisis and friendship crisis because
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone in my middle school, and I was making friends, and I did. However, my self-esteem was not great. I felt like not popular. And I made friends with people who were also not popular and we did great. Like I've always found people to connect to. But at the time that I joined the church, um, it provided a framework for making friends and having a social identity that filled a gap for me that I think I would have had to work out if I didn't have that like crutch.
Hmm.
And then the problem is that it continued to fill that gap of identity and friendship as a very, like what became a solution became a problem. So it's like, I don't fit in, but now I fit in here, which of course is a great marketing tactic for any group, as we know of cults, like find someone that feels like they don't fit in and then pitch to them that you have the solution. So it was a solution, and I felt like I fit in, so much so that I didn't feel like I fit in then in secular friendships because now I have all my in-group friends. And then that continued all through high school. It was just like that's what I did, and all my friends and connections were in the church. And it can, in the second you go to college, I knew I wasn't going to have a community crisis because I knew day one of college
Hmm.
I was going to find all the Bible studies, all the all the Christian groups, and I did. And I have like I didn't just do them a little. Like I would find like eight, like I'd find like one on every night, and I was so plugged in.
Dang.
And then I did the same pattern as a new mom, which again can be very lonely. So did I find other like new moms at a playground? No. I went to church and I found new mom groups in a church.
Hmm.
And so my big identity crisis happened when that kind of church affiliated groups ran out. And it actually started to crumble before I was out of the church, but when the age appropriate church related groups ran out. So, like, there was a place for new moms, new marrieds, college students, like, that whole like
Hmm.
evangelical assembly line. So, there's not really a church group for moms with elementary kids that are going back to work. And so that's where the breakdown, like the loneliness started to happen. And then it got doubled down when I like left the church altogether. But it had
Hmm.
already started in the church because I didn't really have a Bible study group anymore as
Yeah.
easily.
So nowadays, like, how did you end up developing friendships?
Okay, I went back to work.
Okay.
I knew part of the reason I wanted to go back to work as a therapist was because I think that I was lonely. Okay, financial reasons, first of all. Identity reasons. I was like a stay-at-home mom. My kids were going all to school, and I was like, I'm starting my career now. Like, it's time. I've been dreaming of this timeline. And I just was lonely in my life and I needed like connection. And I had left the church um, and I did end up making a lot of my first non-church friends in um, like the therapy world.
Okay.
And they were not necessarily moms. It was like a connected place for just my identity as a therapist.
Yeah. So you had to develop a different identity, like a professional identity that took
Yes.
over for those connections instead of the religious girl identity.
I like how you said that because I think that's a key is I had to develop my identity, which
Yeah.
is the point of not having the crutch of a church who gives you both an identity to have and the friends to connect with it for. Like, but
Hmm.
who are you outside of that?
Right.
We're finding out at 42.
Well, it's like, who are you outside of that? But a lot of groups, at least that I was in, would discourage you from exploring that, or they'd be like, okay, the friends you have over here are the real ones. If you have acquaintances on the outside, okay. but they stay on that level. Like you really want to do all of your investment or all of your deep connection and emotional bonding with the people over here because we're all in. You can invite those people over here. And if they get plugged in and if they show growth and maturity, then
Hmm.
sure, that could be a great place for friendship. But to me, in my communities, there is separation between the things that you do with friends over here and then those people are on kind of like a lower level.
Yeah, so no one's encouraging you to develop your identity outside of the church identity you have
Hmm.
with those friends,
Hmm. Yeah.
which is actually like a really important piece of growing up.
Yeah.
Think about how that stunts your growth.
Yeah. So it's like, what are the things people connect on? What do they talk about? It's like it all ended up being very superficial with people that were outside of the church because I
Hmm.
was told that I should be forging more connections and I should be investing in only people that like spoke that same language.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I know.
So how can you make connection outside of that? It's hard. I think it takes years to figure that out.
It takes, I think, what you said, like identity development on your own.
Hmm.
Like, be a person that's interesting in some
Hmm.
way. It doesn't have to be the right way, but like, try something new or do something with your time. Like, who are you? And then find people that will think that that's interesting also. And not everyone has to love what you're interested in, but then you'll
Hmm.
find the people that are like you, and then you hit it off.
Yeah, you have to really expose yourself to some social anxiety
Yes.
and go to events where you don't know people, go to some things that you can explore new hobbies in, go to activities that you're not good at yet, and
Yeah.
continue to spend time in that space and maybe get better at it. But I think a lot of it involves exposing yourself to uncomfortable situations where there's not the automatic click or automatic being
Yep.
in on something.
Yeah, and I think you have to expose yourself repeatedly because generally friendships, especially in adult, form over time. So if you have to I think the key is find an activity too where you're going to run across the same people over and over
Mhm.
intermittently. And eventually, unless you're really forward, some people are really forward and they'll just like extroverts, they're just going to like, "Hey, let's go hang out" or whatever. But a lot of
Mhm.
people it takes time and then they're like 18 exposures later, they're like, oh, we should hang out sometime. Yeah, maybe we should.
Yeah. The thing with social anxiety is you get these uncomfortable experiences and then you want to run away from any potential exposure to that discomfort again.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think it's really easy to end up isolated or like just be with your family or something because of those uncomfortable experiences and stuff. But it's all a learning experience. And sometimes doing an activity that you're not very good at or that you're mildly interested in just to make connections and stuff is worth it. Um, yeah, I found myself having like a huge aversion to like home groups and stuff like that. Like I'm on these email lists for a church and they're like, our home groups are starting up soon. And I'm like, no, I I don't want that type of friendship. I feel like I'll just see through it at this point.
Home groups were such a genius tool.
Yeah. Cell, what are they called? Cell groups or
Life
something.
groups,
Oh my
home groups,
gosh. I
we call them
roll.
small groups
I roll. Okay.
because it takes the pressure off of the church for having to facilitate all of the like activities and puts it on the small group leader who's going to open their home. And I think it's meeting a really basic human need, which is like community in your house, which is what people used to do and they don't do as much anymore. We're
Mhm.
not apt to like invite new. You are. You're really good at this.
You told me that you're not. Like the last time I came over to your house, you were like, I never have people.
Never have people.
Yeah, we tend to have people over a lot. It's probably because of like my family's culture type of stuff. But
Hmm.
yeah, like we're part of a volunteer team that we work at a homeless shelter every Sunday morning. My husband and I take turns. Can't act like I go
I
every
never
week.
knew that.
You didn't?
Points to Weecho. No, I
Oh,
just thought that you did that all by yourself.
oh no, he started it actually.
What?
So this is the thing. Us moving out of state, we moved to a place where we didn't have any friends, we didn't know anyone. He had a cousin that lived in the area, but they ended up moving away and stuff like that. So us being here, like, really highlighted the amount of isolation that we had.
Yeah.
So my husband's impulse is, let's get involved in church. He's saying that to someone who's extremely traumatized
Yes.
with church involvement. So we would go, I don't want I don't want involved with these people at all because I'm like, it's so superficial, it's so fake. There was this unfortunate encounter with a pastor that had Googled me before we met. So bringing up things about like my professional license and no, I didn't realize. And I was like, dude, you Googled me. Like, that's kind of weird. And just like having a unique name, I don't know, I'm exposed to that type of thing.
Yeah.
But, anyways, so my husband was like really feeling the isolation. Part of that was probably because I wasn't handling getting involved in a church well for obvious reasons. So he was really struggling with his purpose and just feeling like all he was doing was working and sleeping and working and sleeping. So I sent him this volunteer opportunity, like just go work in the kitchen at a homeless shelter. So he ended up getting involved and he started doing that for, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. And then I started going. And so now we go every other week. And yeah, so we've made friends with those volunteers. Some of them we have absolutely nothing in common with. The only thing we have in common is that we go to the shelter and that we know some of the same people. And like working side by side with someone, I think has a bonding effect to it.
Yep, I
Yeah.
agree.
hmm Yeah. So we all have this kind of like teamwork attitude and stuff like that. And we do hang out with those people outside of the shelter, like our volunteer team. And that's been that's been good. That's one level of friendship. Uh I read, oh my gosh, I read a book so long ago. I can't even tell you who it was by, but they were talking about levels of friendships and your expectations for them. And one of the categories of friendships were circumstantial friends. So it's like
Mhm.
people, it's like the shelter people. If we stop volunteering at the shelter, will I continue to see them? Will I continue to hang out with them? Mm, maybe not. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know
Yeah.
what the friendship level is, honestly. Um, so, or it's like circumstantial friends is your neighbors that you hang out with. So if you were to move across town, would you still hang out with those neighbors? Maybe, right?
Yeah.
If you do still hang out with those people after your circumstances or after your location changes, then that's kind of like a more concrete friendship. So I found myself being like bummed because like we would move churches or we would get out of a certain activity or something like that. And then all of a sudden it's like those people disappeared or like I felt abandoned by those friendships. But me realizing, okay, sometimes friendships are circumstantial. It's because you live in a certain place or you're engaging in a certain hobby. And sometimes those friendships drop off with the move or something like that. And that's okay. It's
That's right.
it's actually a normal developmental thing for us not to have like 1,000 deep connections, you know?
The Girl Scouts knew this from day one
How so?
because they said, make new friends and
But
keep the
keep the
old.
old
One
one
is
is
silver,
silver and the
the
other's
other's gold.
okay. I was not going in that direction. I was
That's
more
the
thinking about
one.
on my honor, I will
We'll
try
try.
to serve God and
I
my country,
remember it.
and something else, and to live by the Girl Scout law. We'd
Oh
always
my
yell the last
gosh,
part.
I haven't thought of that in years. Funny.
Yeah. But anyways, just like
Okay, wait. I want to
mhm,
highlight what I
yes.
thought you said was really helpful. I think sometimes when someone is overwhelmed with starting again at relationships, the pressure is on to find lifetime relationships.
hmm
And I think you're right that like it is enough sometimes to find situational relationships, even though
Yeah.
we all crave those lifelong best friendships that'll last forever. Like the way that those get made is they start as situational
Right.
relationships.
Yeah.
So, and then it takes a lot of bonding and time for it to become, it takes growth. So, like, give yourself some situational relationships then by showing up and bonding with people. Like, you have to do the work
Mhm.
though. I really feel like you have to work the system for
Yeah.
adult friendships. You
Yeah.
cannot just sit back.
Yeah, you have to put the effort in. Like when you're a
Hmm.
kid and you're going to school and you have to go to school and
Hmm.
sit in the same chair in the same classroom every single day, and then you go up a grade and then you're with the same people again, and like you're
Yeah.
seeing them all the time, that forges a lot of time that you're investing and you don't even realize it. Like, you
Hmm.
have to do a group project and, some bonds occur with that. Then you make the basketball team and, there's
Yeah.
a certain camaraderie there. And so school age people have this perfect environment for that thing to grow. But once you're an adult and you're in charge of, whether you're going to wake up at 4 in the morning and go down to the homeless shelter, or you're in charge of like what gym you'll go to, or if you'll even go, or, if you're going to get involved in your kid's school or something like that. Once you're in charge of it all, it's easy to just like not do anything and
Yeah.
all of your social encounters reduce. Um, the thing with the situational friendships is that you don't know if they're situational until your circumstances change. So, like,
Mhm.
when I say I hang out with my neighbors, right? And if we were to move, would we still hang out with them? Would we have them over from time to time, even though they'd have to drive to get there? Maybe, because
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know if that's a situational friendship or not. But when you put all your eggs in one basket, or when you have these expectations of all connections and all friendships need to be super deep and they need to be these lifelong connections, it just hurts even more when something normal, like a circumstantial change resulting in less contact with a person,
Yeah.
that becomes more painful when it does happen if you have those expectations that are really high. And I think a lot of times churches or a small group dynamic or something like that places that high expectation on.
Bingo.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah. They
I
place this
come.
expectation that like these are eternal bonds, or,
Mhm.
you guys are accountability partners. So you need to be talking about meaningful things and confessing stuff to each other. And it's just like
Mhm.
right out the gate. All right, this is your person. So bond with them. You guys are bonded now.
Yeah, and there's an encouragement to go deep and to do like the discussions are really deep because you're talking about like if it's prayer requests and small group time, sometimes it's superficial, but usually people are revealing things about their life they would not with maybe a neighbor.
Hmm.
Like it is a
Sure.
more
Yeah.
personal, you're in someone's home more frequently, like you're talking about life and like these meaning-making structures that are like really core to our wiring. It's a
Hmm.
very in-depth, upfront, close relationship quickly. And you're
Yeah.
saying they're family, how
Oh
the
my
other
gosh.
episode, we're family, we're doing life together. That's a sense of like, I think that's why people join communes and cults and high control religions because it provides a family-like friendship that a lot of people like the feeling of.
Yeah.
And you can't get that with bowling, a
Hmm.
bowling team. I don't know why I say bowling all the time. I've never done
I,
a bowling team.
I
Oh,
was
I
just gonna
know,
say
because it was in the book that I told you we should do together.
that. Colton or Mist?
No, there is a book I mentioned that was a guy who studied organizations and community, and he said
All
you
right.
live longer depending on how many organizations, and he's pro join stuff.
What was it? Connect or die or something along those lines.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was something like that.
Yeah.
We should still, I want to read that. I think it's interesting.
We will. It's added to the list.
But our grandparents' generation, I think, had more organizations like that weren't necessarily church-based, like the Masons clubs, and women would work together in community. Like, I can't tell you the names, but I know there was like clubs that
Mhm.
my grandparents associated with.
This is gonna look like really Midwest Farmville of me, but we
Okay,
had we had the Grange. I don't know if you know what those are.
never heard of it.
The Grange is basically like a little city hall, I guess, for farmers and stuff where like they would come together and kind of create some resources among them.
Okay,
But they would happen in these like little townships and stuff like that. Like they didn't have political pull or anything, but it was just a community organization of like farmers or people from out there in the country. So
okay.
we'd go to like Grange dinners and like Grange fundraisers and stuff like that. Or it's like, the VFW clubs. like that was a place where people would seek connection and stuff. Or we had, oh my gosh, some of these are rooted in like racism, but like the eagles, the moose, and stuff like that. Those are still really popular where I'm from, that people go to those places. Like now it's become kind of like a bar, basically, where you'd go.
Yeah.
But there's like membership stuff and kind of like belonging in that regard. So
Hmm.
it's like you belong to the same bar, basically.
Which is also a like the pub, the idea of the pub, I think,
Mhm.
especially in Europe, was like that's where everyone gets together.
Yeah.
Someone knows your name.
Sometimes you wanna go.
Oh no, I was doing where everybody knows your
That's
name.
what I was singing.
Oh wait, you were? I
You just
missed.
sang the next line.
Oh, what's the first line?
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody
Oh, I
knows
missed it.
your
I can
name.
hear. That's so
You just
good.
finished it.
Well, I do feel like there's some considerations to take into account with the pub because of the role of alcoholism in our society.
Right. Yeah.
We should rate like organizations or things we've joined in our, speaking of join or die, like 5 things we've joined in our adulthood and rate them on was this an effective way to make friends or not?
Okay. Okay, so we took a few minutes to write down our groups that we've joined, and we're going to rate them on some
Yay.
sort of scale that we're going to come up with in the moment. It's
Yes.
going to be gold stars. It's going to be bonus points. It's going to be a 1 to 10 scale for what it could be any. It could be
Stars.
any amount. Okay, stars.
Stars 0 to 5.
Okay,
5
sounds good.
means I really made some good friends in this attempt, and 0 would be like, whatever, this did not make me any friends.
Okay, sounds good. All right, go ahead. What's your first one?
Okay, my first one was what I already said, back to work, which is not an organization, but it do would say that I made at least one really good friend, for a life friend,
Mhm.
by initiating a personal conversation at work and then following up with like, hey, let's go to coffee and then let's talk on the phone. And like we both worked on that from each angle. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
so yeah, 5 stars on that one.
Okay, it's amazing how the let's go get coffee changes depending on your context.
Yes.
In the church, let's go get coffee sometimes would end up in a reprimand or like correcting course or, hey, I'm noticing this dynamic. What do you think? Kind of like there's something problematic here that needs solving for everyone's own good or like for your own good.
Yeah.
And when it's like, let's go out to coffee nowadays, just like with a friend, it's like super platonic. There's other stuff to talk about other than what's wrong or what people are doing that's wrong. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
And I'm thinking of 2 of my really close friends I met in my season of getting licensed and starting in a group practice.
Okay. So, going back to work, how many stars?
5.
Okay.
It was very effective with friendship.
Oh my gosh. I see all these memes about like people. Oh my gosh, look at the balloons.
In outer space.
Yay. Oh, space junk. Um, so there's all these memes and stuff about how you trauma bond with previous coworkers. 100% true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something to, at least you get a friendship out of it.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
good.
So,
Okay,
all
you go.
right.
What's your first one?
All right. PTA.
Okay. How many stars does the PTA get?
I'm going to give it 2 stars because I did make a friend that I've seen outside of it because I was like, I'm not getting involved with the PTA anymore. It was just like really political and catty and like I don't know, people just went it was all women first of all and it was just a lot of like competition I felt or I don't know, there was just some
Yep.
cattiness to it and I was like, all right, I'm not interested in like looking over their budget and judging how people are spending the school's money. It's not even the school's money, it's their own money. But I'm like, dude, freaking do whatever Santa shop you want. I don't like
Yeah.
I didn't imagine I would be that apathetic towards the PTA, but once it got started, I was just like, yeah, and I don't know. It was really hard given the power struggle that was involved there. So,
Yes.
Yeah, I made like one, maybe two people that I've seen since and stuff like that, but I don't know. It just seemed like circumstantial, and I've been happier outside of the PTA.
The
So,
PTA did not make my list, but I did do a stint in the PTA and
mhm.
consequently also did not end up with any long-term friends from that activity. And I
Yeah,
didn't have as bad of an experience, but I was just like, this is way too much work. I can't.
yeah. My experience wasn't bad per se. It was just like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Okay.
okay, all right.
2 stars for the PTA. Okay, my next one, and I'm thinking of if you're going to put a gym on yours. Mine was the YMCA gym. So I worked out at the YMCA gym for like multiple years. But it was a big gym, but I would take the same workout class with pretty a lot of the same people. And they were the people that I would like, hey, how are you? Or like chit chat before class. And I had a friend from prior that would go with me, and so we knew each other, but I never made a long-term friend. And all the time that I did, I never like went to coffee with anyone or ended up like fostering. I didn't try, but from my experience, that for me did not result in any friendships.
Okay. Yeah. I was also in the YMCA gym, but I would go with my mom sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, uh, sometimes it seemed like other people were getting more out of it in the social regard than I was.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I know
Did
what
you
you're
do
saying about trying to go at the same time and stuff and coming across the same people and everything.
did you do ripped or body pump?
No, no, someone was just telling me about this the other day that like they write them in all caps and stuff like that. What did we
Uh,
do? We did yoga a lot, and then I'd go there to swim just like on my own.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
What's
The
your next one?
how many stars do you give the Y?
Oh, I would say, and I have to clarify, I would say 1 star, and that's only because of if we're looking at this data point of did I make long-term friendships? No, I didn't make any. So I guess zero
Hmm.
stars. But
Yeah.
I loved the experience. The classes were great. I
Yeah.
wouldn't go thinking it was a friendship building thing,
Yeah.
but I love the why.
That's how I feel about Hotworks when I was going there. I really like the experience. I got a lot of conditioning out of it.
Yeah.
I got some results. It was fine. But because of the individualistic nature of it, like, unless you go with a friend, you end up just like working out by yourself a lot of the time or just like
Yeah.
being in silence with someone else there.
Yeah.
So I didn't make any lasting friendships at Hotworks, but the experience was great. So based on the data point, 1 star. But
Hotworks
okay.
was my antisocial era, and I liked that I didn't have to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Five
Yeah.
stars for antisocial era.
Yeah. 5 stars for the self care at Hotworks for sure.
Okay. What's your
Um,
next one?
all right. Well, let's throw out another gym. I have mentioned that I'm involved in CrossFit. People say CrossFit is culty. I think it's just because they're jealous. Just kidding.
They just don't understand from the outside.
Yeah. But CrossFit, it like to me, at least the gym that I'm in, and it varies from gym to gym. Just like how we've said AA varies from chapter to chapter. CrossFit, you can have a gym that's super antisocial and you can have another one that has like all these social activities and stuff. So with CrossFit, I've been there for 6 months and it's just now that I'm starting to feel like I can talk to people or that it's like consistent connections and stuff like
Mhm.
that, or that I feel comfortable going to stuff like CrossFit Galentine's brunch or whatever. Um,
Oh, it was a CrossFit Galentine.
yes.
I was like, how did you meet these Galentines? Okay, that's
Oh
right.
yeah, it was because of the gym. We did
Okay.
we did like a special ladies workout and then we went to brunch after
Cute.
at someone's house. It was very reminiscent of a church thing,
Yeah,
honestly. Um, but there was so much junk food there too. It was amazing. Like the best cinnamon rolls of my life.
nice.
But yeah, it was so good. Um,
Win.
but I mean, I didn't know anything about CrossFit in the beginning. Like, I'd try to lift a weight and I would fall over. I think I was just in the back and people were like, don't look at her. Like, she does
Oh,
not
look
know.
at her.
Like, and I was also like, don't look at me. Like, maybe I was putting that out there, but I didn't know what I was doing. And the amount of time that coaches had to come over and be like, you're going to injure yourself if you if you keep
Stop.
doing that.
Stop right
Like,
there.
okay. You've signed a liability waiver. You need to be careful.
Oh my gosh.
But I got so much like individualized instruction from the coaches. Like, had I stopped during that uncomfortable time or of like literally months of being the last one done with the workout, not knowing what I was doing. Today, for example, everyone's lifting these like weights for the workout. I had to use the bright orange trainer weights because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to finish this workout if I do the normal weight. So I had these neon orange, huge weights, and I'm the only one in the gym using them. Oh well, like
Yeah.
it's fine. You just have to embrace like you're not an expert at anything, at everything, and it's
Yeah.
fine. In the church, I feel like there was a lot of pressure given that you're in leadership, you need to have answers to stuff and you need to be good at stuff and like
Yeah.
you need to be grounded and like making good decisions and you need to be an example. Like I think there was a lot
Yeah.
of
A
pressure
lot.
there. Yeah, that I'm like taking advantage of not feeling in these spaces.
Yeah.
So I can be like the embarrassing person falling down and I'm learning. Like
I love it.
I have no other excuse. I'm just learning. I don't know anything about CrossFit. Um, but I thought we were getting another guest appearance.
Sorry. Well, yes, Cohen is homesick.
Aw.
Do you need anything? He's good.
Okay.
Okay, what do you rate it then?
Okay.
At the 6 month mark? Because I think that's an important thing to say is it has taken 6 months to even dip
Yeah.
your toe in.
Yeah. Like, for example, it's kind of clicky. And there's these two girls, and like they go to this one class that I go to from time to time, and they're like BFFs or
Yeah.
whatever. So they were sitting down like talking with the last 5 minutes we had of like before the class started. And I could choose to just lean up against the wall and wait for the class to start. But 6 months in, I felt comfortable enough to be like, hey, can I sit with you guys?
Nice.
Awkward. It's like, I was like, oh my gosh, like it felt weird. It's like you're in the cafeteria and don't know who to sit with.
Yes.
But it took me 6 months to be able to do that with them, you
Yeah.
know? So at in my gym, people are very intentional about learning people's names too. And it,
Mhm.
like they'll go through the app and look at people's pictures and learn names and stuff. Like they're super intentional
Wow.
about that. And it shows. Like that's really helpful.
That's
So
awesome.
that bumps up the stars a little bit, but I
Okay.
don't know. I'm thinking 3 to 4 stars because like I've had
Yeah.
really good interactions, but it involved so much awkwardness in so much acceptance of like I suck at this sport or whatever you want to call it. Like I suck, but I'm still gonna go.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just now starting to pay off. So
I think that's awesome that you pushed yourself so far out of your comfort zone and developed your identity in a way that you and like even just you talking about sitting next to new kids at the cafeteria is like, oh God, it
mhm.
is so hard
Yeah,
socially.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. What's your next one?
Okay, my next one is work adjacent, but it's the new moms group I ran
Okay.
for me and for them.
Yeah.
So I mentioned on this podcast a few times, but before I went back to work, I decided to start a secular new moms group in the community center of my um, town. And it's specifically secular because of what I already talked about, which was like my go-to as a new mom was the church. And I was like, well, if you didn't want to go to a church or weren't affiliated, like where would you go? And I was like,
Hmm.
well, I'm going to start that. And I ran it for like a little bit, like a year and a half or two until COVID. And the friendships that those moms made with each other, lifers. Like some
Nice.
of them were acquaintances, but some of them are like legit. Like it feels so beautiful to see that develop. And I made friends. Like, this was weird for me because I was like, I can't be their friend because I might be a therapist someday. That ship has sailed. Like, those are my
Mm.
friends now.
Yeah. Nice.
They're not clients. Literally, those girls, a couple of those women have brought me things since I got diagnosed in the fall. Like, and
Hmm.
it's been 5 years plus since
Nice.
like that's how meaningful. And some of those women also are involved in other things in our community that I've
Hmm.
now re-engaged with them on. So
Cool.
5 stars for that one. I think that if I make a career comeback after I have this break, I'm going to do that group in the fall because it was so
Cool.
helpful.
Nice. That's awesome.
5 stars. I mean,
Five
I don't
stars.
have lifelong friendships from it, but I don't know. It was just so good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, just knowing that like you making the flyer or you putting forth the effort to organize it resulted in them getting that, like they'd give it 5 stars too, probably, if they were talking about
Yeah. Plus, new motherhood trauma bonding.
it.
It's
Right.
so hard. Some of my best friendships still are also from when I was a young new mom because
Hmm.
we had so much in common and we would like hang out and stuff. So,
Nice. Cool. All
yeah.
right. Okay. I want to bring up another thing that you initiated that resulted
Okay.
in our friendship. Yeah. So, uh, to our listener, here's some context. Jennifer posted on Facebook back in 2022 that she was like, does anyone want to meet as like a person of the therapist process group and just kind of like peer support? In our field, it's hard to find free spaces for that. Like people are
True.
always hustling each other for consultation hours and like I mean, to talk to another therapist to gain some perspective or advice, people charge for that kind of thing and all that. So Jennifer was like, seeking connection, who wants to? And a few of us answered, and here we are, almost 3 years later.
I know.
Yeah, it's gonna be 3 years, um, of just like really good friendship. Like,
Yes.
yeah. So, anyways, shout out to them. Um, and I would give it 5 stars. So it's like good for you,
Hmm.
Jennifer. You like created these spaces for people
Yeah.
to make really good connections and yeah, lifelong stuff. So
And the people that came were like meant to be friends. Like it all,
yeah.
yeah. But okay, here's what's interesting as a data point for that is
Uh-huh.
that it was online, so you
Hmm.
didn't have to join, and that's pro and con for online. It was niche because it
Hmm.
was you had to be a therapist and be in the religious trauma field. So we all have
Right.
a lot
Yeah.
in common.
Hmm.
Um, and we met weekly for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, consistently.
Yeah.
So it took a long time even meeting. It's again with like your thing about CrossFit. Like it took some time of like putting in the effort of just showing up over and over
Yeah.
to build relationships.
And the data point of the vast majority of religious trauma therapists are survivors of religious trauma in some way.
Yeah.
So all of us having that common ground and things, like there was a lot to talk about with that. There was a lot to
Yeah.
process through, and having a safe space to be able to do it was great. But in those first, I would say in the first months, my watch thought I was exercising because I was so nervous to be in that space or like, what if things go wrong, like in other circles in the past? And it took a lot for us to show up. And like, we even talked about that experience. So, I mean,
Hmm.
we're all mental health
Stress.
professionals in that space, but even then the emotional dysregulation was real. Like it
Yeah.
was really hard to be vulnerable in that space and stuff. So 3 years later our dynamic looks a lot different than it did before,
Hmm.
but we had to push through. It could have been again another 6 months. It could have been like a 6 month thing of
Yeah.
awkwardness and like conflict resolution and like cleaning up misunderstandings and exercising humility in those spaces and stuff like that. Like yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't easy. It didn't just like materialize out of nowhere.
Like you talked about the social anxiety of breaking into a conversation because you don't know anyone and they
Hmm.
may like be the BFFs might like dish you or something.
Right. Hmm.
But also the social anxiety of you've been through a situation with a group of people that you had friends with, and they have called you, like you've gone in deep with them, and now you've been cut off from them
Oh,
after
right.
after the religious
Yeah.
experience.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
every time I made friends for the first several years of
Hmm.
making leaving the religious situation, like if it was a soccer sideline or PTA or
Hmm.
the gym, like I was constantly afraid that somebody was going to ask me, where do you go to church? Or bring up a religious thing. And I felt like the second I alluded to that, like, oh, I don't go there anymore, I was like certain somebody was going to like judge me, yell at me, exclude me.
Hmm.
Like I would feel the icy silence of like, oh, and then it would be an instant. Like I was terrified of that
Yeah.
rejection.
Hmm. Yeah.
It was really tough.
Yeah.
And now I'm not.
Or it's like if I told those girls like, "Hey, can I sit with you guys?" Yeah, sure. And then they just went on talking about their topic that like I was not included in. That's
Yes.
kind of awkward. That's happened before.
Yes.
Yeah. And you just have to, okay, like just try
Gosh.
again. Like,
Yes.
yeah, it sucks.
People do
Um,
that.
yeah, it sucks. And just expose yourself to more discomfort and yeah, shoot your shot. That's all you can do. So,
Shoot your shot and move on.
yep, riz 'em up.
Oh my gosh. So five
Um,
stars for the online support group.
I give it 5 stars for the experience, but maybe four. Well, okay, is it the point of did I make friends? Like, did I
Yes.
make lifelong friends?
The
Okay, that's
outcome.
five. Yeah, sure, that's five. 4 stars maybe because it took so long, but I think that was because of like our all like shared trauma and dysregulation.
Yeah.
So that wasn't anyone's fault necessarily, but it
Well,
was
it's
tough.
like the same as CrossFit. Like you're getting some maybe friendships, but you had to put in a lot of sweat and tears. Like
Yeah,
sweat.
yeah. Like, don't look at me. Like, I'm gonna turn my camera off in the group. Don't look at me right now.
No, it's true. Okay, my last one
Okay.
is a little bit in the last year, I've joined several political, like the Democratic women's group in our county,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I made some great friendships just standing side by side volunteering with people for that.
Cool.
And they were like, not like they haven't been developed well enough, but they were definitely people where I was like, oh, I would totally be really good friends with you if we had the
Mm-hmm.
time and the bandwidth to
Yeah.
like see each other frequently.
Nice. Okay.
Five
Cool.
stars for that one.
Yeah. Did you guys become friends on social media?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. Um, I'm just like, oh my gosh. In more elections,
Do you have
you
a
guys
climate too?
no.
Okay.
Yeah. And like as more elections come up and everything, you guys are likely to continue to band together for more
Yeah.
candidates and stuff like that. Cool.
So you could consistently rub shoulders with them and
Hmm.
bond.
Okay. Cool. All right. My last one is when I was living in Ohio, I went on meetup.com and I was looking for like connection basically. And I found this Spanish meetup where people would get together and speak Spanish and like it was like a friend, just
Yeah.
like a meetup thing. 0 stars because I went, no one actually spoke Spanish. They thought it was a class, like where someone would teach them it.
Oh.
So it was like Americans that were like, I like Spanish. Maybe I should download Duolingo to learn, dot, dot, dot. And so it was kind of like the thing that we thought we had in common, like we actually didn't.
Yeah.
That was just, it was weird.
It was a flop. That's a good
Yeah,
example.
it was a flop. I only went a couple times. And then like the organizer of it was like, oh, I can't make it ever. So it was just like, okay. I was like at Panera with strangers and
Oh
yeah,
my
it
God.
was it was so awkward, but like I wasn't getting anything out of it, so I like wasn't about to go back, you know.
Yeah.
But
Very
with
loose associations for that one.
yeah, like with these other groups, there was some sort of benefit, whether it was like exercise or clinical
Uh-huh.
consultation, like there was some reason to be going. So,
Well, you know how there's like organized religion, and part
mhm,
of that is just like the facilities and the
mhm,
money. So, like these groups that have like CrossFit has a place to meet and a
yeah,
consistent income stream
mhm,
versus that's like we're meeting in a Panera is not going to be as cohesive.
right, right, yeah, and like it was just like everyone was just drinking water, so it's not like it was like a lunch thing. It was like we're using this as our room. It
Oh
was kind of
man.
awkward. Yeah. Anyways, well, that's that. 0 stars. Um, yeah, it made this activity made me reflect on like the different churches I've been a part of. Like, who am I still in touch with?
Oh,
Like,
after they said you would be family for life.
yeah, I'm like not in touch with anyone. Well,
Yeah.
okay, one friend, like I have one friend that her and I like we meet on a regular basis, like on video. She lives in Ohio. And like, yeah, we actually do still share like quite a bond. But like looking over this timeline of stuff, it's like my circles have changed quite a bit. And
Yeah.
I feel duped because I was in these groups and it's like share everything with each other. And it's like, okay, for the obedience of God's will and bringing his kingdom to earth, I will. And I did. And now it's like, mm, but like Aleesa who, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Huh.
not the lifelong relationship they promised.
It's not the bond you think it is.
And like that's probably for the best.
Probably. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm still not doing the same thing I was doing in my 20s
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
30s. Yeah,
Yeah.
do something new.
Okay.
Try
There
something
it
new out
is.
there, everyone. It's good.
Yep. Try something new. Exposure to anxiety will not kill you. That's my biggest lesson.
Yes, that is true. You will
It's
survive it.
it's awkward, but it's not forever and it will not kill you. So,
That was a fun convo.
yep. I enjoyed it.
Me
Well,
too.
we'll see
Bye.
what comes up next time. Bye.